Marketing Your Private Practice is a podcast where you'll learn easy to implement tips and strategies to grow your business without spending all day online. I'm your host, Kathy Colaiacovo, and I teach practitioners the Thrive marketing method to create simple and streamlined plans by focusing on long-term strategies, not just social media. Discover ways to spend less time on your marketing, attract more clients, and build the financial freedom that comes with a thriving practice. One where you have time left in your day for the people and things that matter to you. So welcome everybody, and hello to all my private practice heroes out there. It is Kathy Colaiacovo with the Marketing Your Private Practice podcast. And today we're doing one of our marketing audits with Heather Zeitzwolfe, and she is from Portland, Oregon in the USA. Heather is a profit strategist and a CPA, and today in her marketing audit, we're going to focus on her messaging because she's rebranding and she's wondering how to get more people to view her more as a business mentor than just a CPA, which I would kind of doubt whether I would really refer to anyone as just a CPA. But she doesn't want to be known as just numbers and finances. She offers more than tax and bookkeeping. And she wants to build her business incubator to be her main source of income. So that's why her messaging and doing this audit was so important to her. Now, these audits, for those that are listening in, are a way to spend a little time with me, a marketing strategist who's helped over 300 private practice owners and even probably about double that in coaches and service-based business owners in the past 15 years. I am all about teaching you ways to simplify and streamline your marketing so that you spend less time marketing, more time with clients, and generating revenue that supports your lifestyle. And ideally, that's one where you're not marketing all day long because you have time left in your day to be with the people and do the things that matter to you. So today we are going to get into this audit with Heather. So welcome to the podcast, Heather, and to one of our special marketing audits.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited to be here. And so is my assistant, which is my cat Finnegan, who just jumped on my lap. Okay, there he goes. Okay.
Hey, I have 2 dogs, so I totally get all of that. No worries at all. So Heather, you applied for one of our audits and you want to talk about your messaging in particular, because that is where you're really focusing on as you do this rebranding. And so for you, that is a critical component of doing this rebranding. So before we dive into a bit more on that, let's get you to introduce your business and tell us a little bit more about who you are, your business name, and also the main services that you offer your clients.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. So when my business started, it was called New Wave Accounting, LLC. And soon after, I got a cease and desist on that. So that name, because there's Wave Accounting is the name of a software. Totally different name. I had no idea, but I got a cease and desist. So I had to rebrand. And I really loved my branding because I love new wave music and it was very 80s inspired. And that's kind of how I wanted to do it. So I had to change it. And my last name is Mashup. My last name is Zeitz, which is my old name, and Wolf, which is my husband's name. We put it together and it became Zeitzwolfe. So I figured, well, nobody else in the world has got the name Zeitzwolfe except for us, so I'm not going to get a cease and desist on that name. So then I started that path with that, which, I bought the URL and all of that, but Zeitzwolfe is not the easiest URL to convey to people, especially when you're on podcasts, and it's like Z-E-I, it's crazy. So then when I started my podcast, I called it Get the Balance Right, which is a Depeche Mode song. And it kind of incorporated the new wave aspect and balance because I'm an accountant and all of that. But then I think we both have a friend, Adam Shively, that it was like, you really need to have a name that's searchable. So I've decided, as I started to go down this path of becoming a business mentor, to kind of rebrand things and offer it all under this umbrella called Get Radical with Your Business. So in my Zeitzwolfe accounting, I've been always talking about getting radical with your numbers. So this is kind of taking some of that branding and kind of switching it over. So I'm kind of back to that 80s vibe. I'm a Gen Xer. I not get rid of all of that part of me, so that MTV culture or whatever. So, but so my offers in Zeitzwolfe Accounting, so it's all really the same business. It's just, it's under this one umbrella. But I have a website for Zeitzwolfe Accounting, and I offer bookkeeping services, tax services, strategy sessions, but mostly around numbers and the finance of your business, some money coaching, that sort of thing. So that's Zeitzwolfe Accounting. Got a website for that. Then when I started Get the Balance Right, that podcast was on my original website. And then I was like, I want to rebrand, I don't want people just to think it's like they can't figure out the Zeitzwolfe Accounting URL. So I was like, okay, I'll start Get the Balance Right URL. So I did that. But now I'm like, okay, I'm going to rebrand. Squarespace loves me because I keep buying sites, So now I've got this third website for Get Radical with Your Business. But when I started my incubator, it was called Get Radical Profit Growth Accelerator, which is what the URL is. So then I was like, okay, that's a crazy URL. I thought it would be searchable. So now I bought getradbiz.com, and all of that goes to the new site. So that's kind of like it in a nutshell. So you can tell like there's like a lot going on, and a confused mind doesn't buy, right? And I'm confusing people by like having this whole like thing. But the thing is, there's like because I've been on a lot of podcasts and I have my podcast, like there's links out there to go to these things, and I don't want someone to be like, well, wait, where is she? So I've kept this stuff up, so.
Okay. All right. And thanks for clearing that up, because I didn't know from your audit application about the getradbiz.com domain. So is that the one you put out there publicly and then people just come to the main one?
Yes.
Is that how you're doing that? Okay.
Yep.
So if you met someone face to face, you're saying you can find me at getradbiz.com. Is that what you're doing?
Yep. And I have that email address. I've got, a Google Drive with that. I've got, so because I was like, okay, I have a Facebook group with that name. So it's like, okay, now we got it. Figured that out.
Okay. So I'm going to back up to the intro again. And there's one thing that you didn't tell me. What's the main service you offer your clients?
Oh, okay. Main service. Okay. So my main service has been, up until now, bookkeeping and tax. So that's been my main focus. But over the last couple of years, I've been getting more into offering group programs. And then I started a membership last year. And the membership is really where I want to take my business, because I have a cruise retreat coming up called Plan Your Profits in Paradise. That's under this new umbrella of Get Radical with Your Business. So the future, what I would like to be doing is leaning more into the membership program, which is like the business incubator, and then having retreats. So really, I'm making money from the taxes and the bookkeeping. That is my main source of income, but I really want to kind of switch it over with the rebrand. So I want people to think of me differently. The challenge has been, I tell people about the incubator, but because they know me as a CPA, they're just like, oh, I don't need any help with my taxes. I'm like, oh, okay, but that's not even what I'm talking about.
Okay. Well, and it's funny that you say that, because my next question to clarify this, so we are definitely talking about messaging here. This is key, because even myself taking some background time looking at your website and then hearing you talk about it, I'm definitely getting conflicting messages from what I saw to what you're saying. Okay. But for me, a big thing in your messaging, so this is actually something in a program that I teach, and the whole method on how I teach people with their marketing is one pillar of your marketing is messaging. And included in there is know your client, know your offer, and build your list of leads by having a lead magnet that attracts. So for you.
Yep. So right now the lead magnet, so I've had like different downloadable PDFs and things like that before, and downloadable spreadsheets, and I also use MailChimp. And so MailChimp has its own landing pages with their own URLs, and that is all kind of interconnected. So like if somebody signed up on one of my websites, they all kind of go into the same bucket on MailChimp. And again, I know the confused mind doesn't buy. So I'm definitely confusing people with my message.
100%. And
Kathy, I need your help.
So here's my big question for you when we talk about this, the know your client and know your offer. My question for you is, do you want people signing up for the incubator to be tax and accounting clients too, or not?
No, I would rather
Okay.
not. Yeah.
So, right. So let me follow that up with, do you even want them to be able to know that that's a presence that you have, is the entire tax and the bookkeeping and all of that as an offer?
I would really rather like serve a very few clients in the tax world. And once they get into the incubator, like part of it is like looking at your numbers and all of that. So the bookkeeping services can be like, oh, and by the way, I do offer this. I mean, it could be something like once they're in, but yeah, I don't want them to think of me as a bookkeeper or a tax accountant. And so believe me, that's why like when I've been going on podcasts lately and doing presentations and stuff, like I'm leaving that information off. A lot of my clientele are vegans, and I'm kind of known as like the vegan CPA, which, for a while there, that was a good selling point. But now it's like, no. And so I've actually been leaving the CPA off of things when like I apply to speak or, go to different networking places because I don't want them to associate with me with that. I mean, granted, it gives me street cred, but, at the same time, it's confusing to people.
And how long have you had the tax and accounting business?
I started in 2018.
Okay. Okay.
So
So
yeah,
you've been
that was
around
when
for
I
a
started.
while, five
Yeah.
years or so. So you've built up that reputation. Okay. So that's one piece of your messaging. I'm going to dive into one other confusing piece that I want to talk to you about, because I think it's a big part in how you're positioning yourself. So you want people to sign up for your incubator, which is your membership, or to go on the retreats with you, or potential future group programs. It sounds like
Exactly.
maybe
Yep.
workshops or whatever. And in
Mm-hmm.
it, you're not doing their taxes for them. You're going to help them learn and understand how their numbers and their knowing their finances can help them grow and build their profits, but not by Heather doing the taxes kind of thing. Okay.
Exactly. Yes. And the business incubator actually offers more things than just the financial part of it. So I used to be a project manager. So like
Right.
systems
Okay.
and all that kind of stuff, it like
So
offers
you're
all
talking
that.
all about making the profits in the long run. You are not focused on you can do your taxes by this date and get your receipts in this way. And like, that's
No,
none of it. Correct. Okay.
no.
So, all right. So that
In
helps me
fact,
there.
I would
So,
love to be able to have more of an international audience as well. So,
right.
like, as soon as
Okay.
I take that tax equation out, then I can have more of a. I have people that have joined me from England and stuff, but it's like if I'm talking about tax and it's not,
No,
it has to
and
be
I'm a
US based.
Canadian, so your tax
Yeah,
ideas are totally different from mine. So you don't want to cross
exactly.
that at all. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's good. That's going to help me with the next step here, but I'm going to back up one more step.
Okay.
You are calling yourself I'm going to go back up to the exact term here that I want to use, a creative solopreneur mentor.
Yes.
Okay. Do people know what a creative solopreneur is?
That's a good question, Kathy. So I've tried this different ways. So mainly the people that I work with and I attract. So I'm not your typical business coach. I'm not your typical accountant, all that, right? So I have a sort of a fun spin. I'm kind of
Yep.
wacky and funny and all that kind of
Got
stuff.
that.
So,
Little
so I used to
radical.
say, yep. So I used to say, I worked with rebels, freaks, misfits, and geeks, which, but not everybody wants to call themselves that, even though they might fit in that category.
Right.
So I kind
Okay.
of, got rid of that branding. And I've, said that I work with service-based creatives. I talk about working with virtual or digital based creatives, that sort of thing. But the main point is, and maybe Kathy, you can help me with the words, but I'm looking to work with people that are mainly selling services virtually. So they don't have brick and mortar stores like or online stores. I'm not looking for people who have products. They're just service based. So they could be, when I say creative is kind of a loose term. So I do like to work with videographers, photographers, podcasters, that sort of thing, people in those types of production. But I can also help people that are, coaches that maybe have a podcast, or people that design courses, or those types of things that have like these productized
Okay.
services.
Okay. All right. Perfect.
Yeah.
And most of the time they're a solopreneur, I'm assuming, or they might have
Yes,
like maybe a VA or a part-time admin or small,
exactly. And mostly
if
what
that.
they have is contractors. Yeah.
Right.
So
Okay. Got it.
and I
Okay.
used to entrepreneurs, I work with entrepreneurs as well, but I find that what we're talking about in the incubator is more in line with somebody that would be a solopreneur that is kind of looking to grow in their
Right.
business.
Because an entrepreneur, and I've struggled with this over time too, an entrepreneur can be a one-person show or a 50-person show. I think sometimes with entrepreneurs, it's the level of success and how far you've expanded that differentiates people. Solopreneur is pretty spot on. So we'll talk about the creative in a second, but mentor is the question I have for you as well.
Yes. I've been playing around
Why
with this
is the
too.
word Okay, so why is the word, tell me why the word mentors in there.
So, I've tried different things. So I've thought about strategist. I think people find that like icky,
Not
like,
get radically.
I don't want to, I
It's
don't want
not
to do
radical. It's not your
Yeah.
personality.
Yeah. It's not, like I do strategize. That is part of, but I think people just don't like that. I used to call myself like a profit coach. There's people out there that call themselves coaches for things that are like, I've met other people that were money coaches, but knew nothing about finance. So it's like the word coach, like what I'm providing is more than what a coach would provide. Like a coach coaches you on things, where for me, it's like I'm getting more into the nuts and bolts and strategies behind things. So I feel like mentor like encapsulates it more. But again, it's like consulting and a coach. So with consulting, they call it, but that's like really hard to say. Like, I'm a
Right. Okay.
consultant, you know.
Yeah, no, don't do that because that's not a real word. Nobody's Googling it. We can talk about what's better than mentor, but here's my issue with mentor.
Okay.
And if you go Googling on
Mentors
this,
are
because
free.
I
Is that
did,
what you're going to say? Mentors are
mentors
free?
are free. 100%. Most people expect a mentor to be free. So the minute you start positioning yourself as a mentor, people think it's a relationship where you're going to work with them one-on-one and help them and be their mentor. That's what people define mentorship as.
When I was trying to figure out the right word, I thought about mentor and I thought, well, God, every time I think of mentor, I think of somebody that you don't pay. It's like somebody that like you've met at a networking meeting. They're like, I'll take you under my wing and I'll be your
Right.
mentor, you know?
Okay. Got it.
So I'm totally open to new ideas.
I would highly encourage you to drop the term mentor just
Okay.
because it's all about not making money. It's about a relationship more than anything. But here's the thing, there's nothing wrong. Like Profit Strategist covers what you do, it covers all the different parts of it. What I would encourage you to do is dig deep and kind of niche down on those specific business owners. Because creatives, a lot of people will think of them as someone who is really doing actual active creation, design, not in necessarily in the way that you just described them all as. You are talking about online business owners, knowledge-based businesses. You're talking about coaches, you're talking about course creators, you're talking about podcasters. A lot of them will align themselves with the term they're an online business owner. Their business is totally online. They provide their services online. They're typically providing a service. They are service-based solopreneurs. So I would encourage you to narrow that down in a way that would speak more to what people actually call themselves.
Okay. So here's one of my other challenges. So because I have this accounting business, I've attracted a lot of people that are in like the therapy world and all of that. And then I've got this sort of, because I'm so open minded, I got a lot of woo people in my universe and then comedy. And like, so there's like the creative part kind of is like this, like all encompassing. And I get you because I understand like I need to narrow down. So I guess the question is like, I mean, if I say like coaches and course creators and that sort of thing, like I tried saying digital production or something like that before.
Right.
And that just like, again,
Yeah,
didn't
that
really
would
get me
be
anywhere.
odd too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, do you have an online audience, like a Facebook group of people, or do you have an email list? I think you have an email list from the sounds of
I
it.
have an email
And you have your
list. Yeah.
podcast audience, right?
Yeah. But again, it's like a crossover of things, it's
Right.
like,
So, what you might want to do is like a one question survey. How
okay.
do you describe yourself? And see what those people say they are.
Oh, that's really good. Okay. Yeah. How do you
Because,
describe yourself? Yeah.
right, don't put anything in a box for them to think about. It's all open. So do not give them an idea. Do not put creative, solopreneur, anything. When you're talking to somebody, how do you refer to yourself and what title, or how do you describe your type of business? And see what they say. Personally, I think if you were to, and I will tell you, when I did my little intro at the beginning, I left that term off on purpose because I wanted to talk to you about it. But profit strategist, you don't have to add any more because that does cover a lot of what you do. I think what you're trying to do by adding in creative solo mentor is trying to get that. And this is the niche of people that I work with in doing this. But I think sometimes that can be a little tricky to do as part of your title. So I would try to look at that as something you put in your message of, hey, service-based business owners, or something like that as part of your messaging versus part of your title.
Oh.
But I really would drop the mentor. I would really recommend dropping the mentor part of it, because I do feel that that is something that people will get. They just have an instant perception, whether they go that way with you or not. It gives them that thought of, oh, now she wants me to pay for it. I thought it was a mentorship. Not everybody will think that pointedly every time, but it just puts that projection out there of mentors are typically relationships that are free and they're one-to-one. So, you know, what you're offering, the membership, the group retreats, the group programs, very different from mentoring. Yes, you're going to mentor them along the way and you're going to help them and you're going to coach them. You're going to offer them some consulting type services by the sounds of it as well. And in your back pocket, you have CPA services if you need that too. But I would consider leaving that out of it, but really finding out from your people, how do they describe themselves?
So again, the calling myself a business mentor was trying to get away from the word profit, just because people have a tendency to, like, if I was like a marketer and called myself a profit strategist, and they would think like, oh, okay, well, she's talking about marketing. But when I'm talking about it, I think people think like, oh, well, she's going to talk to me about my books or something. So I guess I was trying to separate myself from that. So like a business strategist, like, but it's more like a solopreneur. Like, I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, so let's go into this. What is the biggest problem your people have that they come to you for?
It depends.
Not in the accounting. That thing is
okay,
out
not
the
in the
window.
accounting?
Not at all. Not there at all. We're like literally focusing on, think about your membership, because that's the main thing I think you've got going here. People that are ideal for that, what's their problem?
Yeah, they need clarity around how to build a business, how to even like put systems in place. To me, it's really around community. Instead of being like a solopreneur where you're just like working by yourself, having a sense of community with others where you can share ideas. They're living in their head a lot, and now they can actually talk to somebody about it. Clarity is like the number one thing, I would say.
I'm going to turn this around for you. Okay. So those people, when they go to Google and look for someone like you to help them, they're typing in, I need clarity about building my business and community.
Probably not. No.
Okay. So let's dive back more. What is their actual problem?
They are working a lot and not making enough money.
Okay.
Like they don't understand there's a disconnect between I'm working, I can't get leads, or, you know, why am I not making, I want to make six figures, I can't get there no matter how hard I try.
My business isn't making enough money.
Yeah.
So they have many reasons. It could be a variety of reasons, but ultimately they're not making the money that they need.
Exactly.
Correct? Okay.
Yeah.
And if they don't do this, what's going to happen to them?
They're probably going to go bankrupt or go out of business.
Right.
Understanding your cash flow and all of that is just so vital to running a business, because, you know, so many businesses fail because of cash flow issues.
Right. Okay. So when we talk about your particular clients and the problems that they have, where you want to go, and this was what I found really challenging to figure out on your website, was because it's just not pointedly there. You're worried that your business isn't making enough money to sustain itself.
So I need to have that on there, huh? Okay.
Yeah. You have it in a section, you know, you have 3 sections at the top. So your website kind of starts with, yo, creative entrepreneurs, get radical with your business and accelerate your profits. So that's a little bit about what you're going to help them do.
Okay.
And in there, you've got a couple things, like you have 3 points across: increase your revenue, use strategies, and organize and clarify your numbers. So within those, you talk about some of those, like find out how to scale, grow your business with consistent income. That to me says one of their problems is they don't have a consistent income and their business isn't growing. The problem that they have is they don't have that income. When you're looking at your website and messaging that you have on there on the homepage, and even in what you put out on social media, that should stand out, because when someone comes to your website or when you're talking to them, they want to know that you get their problem. They're never going to tell you, I'm looking for more clarity, Heather. I need the community. They're not ever going to say that. When you say to them, what is your problem? They're going to say, I'm not making enough money. I don't have consistent income, and I'm scared to death my business is going to close and I might have to get a job. I might go bankrupt. Like there's all these deeper problems. If the main problem is the income, they're not making enough income for whatever reason that is, and there could be many. The next issue is, holy crap, if I don't do this, I'm going to be in a whole other stage of life here. I'm either going to be bankrupt, going to have to get a job, can't pay, support my family anymore, all of that stuff. So your clients, that's their problem.
Yeah.
And you have ways as a profit strategist and a specialist in working with entrepreneurs and solopreneurs that have a service-based business of variety. Some are creative, some are course creators, some are therapists, or whatever it might be. Your specialty is helping them learn and understand the numbers so they can put strategies and processes in place that increase their revenue and build that consistent income. So when someone comes to this page and you're talking to them, they need to know, if they don't think that you understand their biggest problem, which is they're not making that consistent income, and then the bigger fear that's sort of sitting on their shoulder and keeping them up at night, it's going to be hard for them to think that you can help them.
Okay. So I actually need to actually spell that out on there. Be like something around like, are you up late at night focused on, not being able to pay your bills or something?
Exactly. So one of the things that you can look at is, what's really nice to have is kind of a before and after statement that stands out front and center.
Yeah.
You have some of that, like get radical in your business, accelerate your profits, right? So that is kind of what you help them do. That's what they're going to be at the end of working with you. But at the top, where you have sort of your largest message, it's just sort of a highlight to, hey, creative entrepreneurs, right?
Okay.
Instead, are you worried about your business and your income and your future? Get radical with your business and accelerate your profits. And you can do that with me.
Mic drop. All right.
And you can do that with me in my blah, 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 blah program.
Oh, I like this.
That's where I would go. You have some of this, but it's in the small print, right? You've said in there, you like helping creative entrepreneurs build profitable businesses. That's what you're going to do. And that's what you say at the top. Accelerate your profits, get radical with your business. But the big thing is, when you're doing that, you're helping them solve the problem of, they're worried about their business. They're worried about their life. It's a fear that any entrepreneur has, solo, big, small, whatever. They want to make sure their business is going to be stable and have the consistent income. So I feel like you have some of the words there and some of the message there, but you really need to step back, think about, and really define a little more narrow who you're working with and who you really want to work with.
Okay.
And that can be scary sometimes. I did that about 2.5 years ago. I went deep down to private practice owners, dietitians, therapists, kind of thing, from the bigger picture of service-based business owners, coaches, type of thing. They'll still find you. They'll still come in there. But when your marketing can speak to that real dream client you want to work with, and the one the best, the one the problem the best, all of that, it just works out a lot better in the messaging part of this.
Yeah. Okay, so as far as like the messaging, okay, so obviously I'll revamp that. Do you think that like a video or something like that is necessary on the page like that? Would that be something that would be better to have some sort of, I don't know, video to click on?
Not necessarily. I do feel your homepage, you have a lot of words. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of words.
People will skim and read. So if you can cut that down, I think that would be good.
Okay.
The reason I asked you about your services is because there's some things that I read, like it says, through my strategic advising, membership, and group programs. And I know this is where you're confused about who you're working with. I help digital creators and fellow service-based business solopreneurs monetize their passion. So I always tell people, read your stuff out loud, because then you will understand how somebody's reading it. That is confusing.
Okay.
But in there, it's strategic advising, membership, and group programs. But the only thing you have when I look further on the page is the membership.
Oh.
So that's where you want to be clear. How does somebody work with you?
Gotcha.
Right? It sounds like you have a couple ways. They work in the membership. It sounds like one-on-one with you for strategic advice and advising, and in your special group programs like your cruise that you're having or any other group programs. So you can put more details on the page for those programs. You don't have to have every detail on the home page. What you want to have there is people understand you get their problem. They know that you're for you because you've somehow identified that ideal client, and that you have this way of working with them that's going to help them end up with this transformation in the end. And how do they work with you? Easy. 1, 2, 3 ways. How do you get started? And you have this on here. Sometimes a little confusing. You've got like interested in becoming a member of the Rad Pack, which is your way to book a free consult with you. So you have that in there. But what would be good is, put the steps for how they work with you. 1, book a call with me and we'll talk about which program's the best fit for you, which path is the best fit. 2, we get you started and get you going. And 3, you start rocking out your business and you get radical and start accelerating your profits.
All right. So, Kathy, can we hire you to work work on the website?
Of course. I do one-on-one marketing strategy with clients, but for you, like that's where I would tell you to go, because it's just, there's a lot there. It's not clear what you have to offer. And the bonus tip I did want to give to you here is when they do scroll down and you ask them in the section that's about your membership on the homepage, interested in becoming a member. So I've kind of looked through, I've got this, I've got that. And you actually do have a sales page on the membership, but instead you throw that button to book a call, which is very generic.
Okay. You know why? Because the website's a hodgepodge.
Yeah, exactly.
Admittedly, a hodgepodge of like, it first started off as one page and then I added a page and then I added another page. And I'm not looking at the links, I will admit.
No, and nobody does. Like people just, you put it up and you don't often go back and take a look at it, right? Especially, I like people to look at from the point of view of their client and somebody coming to the page. Now, I should back up. You asked about a video on the homepage. For me, what's more important for you on this homepage right now is that within the under 7 seconds, people understand that you get their problem and you have a way to help them so they can feel like this.
Okay.
A video is a little longer to get that in there. You could put one in there down a little bit lower if you wanted to explain it. Do I think that's something you need to focus on right now? No, I think what you need to focus on is the clarity of the 3 offers that you have, the clarity of who your ideal client really is, and don't be scared to kind of narrow it down, because it sounds like you have a bit of a narrow focus and people that you really like to work with that are a certain type of business owner. But I think part of the issue here in the messaging is, how do they identify themselves, right?
Yeah.
So how can you talk to them in their words? And that is so important, Heather, in all of your marketing, is that you're using their words. And that's why when I corrected you, I asked you, what problems did they have? You're giving me all the stuff you're going to do for them.
Yeah. Okay.
You need to get in their shoes and talk about, I'm sorry, I'm pounding my fist into my
Gosh darn it, Heather, you got to do this.
But the thing is, if you're talking about where you're going to take them, they don't get that till they know you understand the problem.
Yeah.
But the other biggest thing, for me, this is where websites are your number one foundation, and they come before social media, because most people are going to go to Google and they're going to Google in, how do I grow my business? How do I get consistent profits and consistent income in my business? How do I make sure my business is stable? These are some of their problems. That's what they're going to be looking for. If you don't have any of those words in the content on your website, Google will never know that that's the kind of problem you help them with either. And they're never going to show your page to those people. Because I'm pretty sure, we could probably check here if I wanted to try it, but I don't think there's going to be many people Googling, where's the nearest creative solopreneur mentor near me, right? That's not what they're going to look for. They are going to look for business strategists, make more profits, how do I make more income, make consistent income? So some of your content there, your messages has to have that information because that's what they're going to look for.
I guess I was just under the impression that I'm such a small potato that I would never come up in a Google search, no matter how many keywords I throw in there.
Not at the rate you're going, but you definitely can.
Really? Oh, okay. Well,
then I'll
give it a college try then. Okay.
There are so many ways a small potatoes kind of business as you don't have to play the ad game. You don't have to do all that to be able to get on the search engine results. And the other thing is too, just because others may show on the first page doesn't mean you don't have a shot at it either. Because if they click and go somewhere and don't get it, they're going to go back. And then they click and they'll go back. People will go to page 2 and 3. So you can be on page 2, 3, 4, even more. The thing is, if you don't have those keywords and the words and the messages on your website, you never have a shot at it, right?
Yeah.
Because you're never talking to them. My best example of this, first day that I ever truly understood how the search engines worked, I was writing a blog on Twitter, who I now have a hate relationship with. Back then I had a love relationship with Twitter. And so I wrote a lot of marketing and content on blogs. And in that time, I was looking for some research for an article. So I started Googling something and I was so mad. I got this result that came up and the very first result was one of my blogs. And I'm like, that's not the one that I want. That's not what I'm looking for. And then all of a sudden it clicked into me. Holy crap. Google just said, hey, Kathy, the best answer we can find for you on the internet for that question is your own article.
Wow.
And that was when it really kicked into me that that's what could happen, right?
Wow. Yeah.
You don't have to be doing paid SEO to make this all work.
Okay.
But you do have to have messages and content and keywords on your website that people can find.
Okay.
I talk about 10 marketing foundations. I have a checklist. I'll put it in the list for everybody and even a quiz that you can take. Number 1 is your website. Number 2 is your Google business profile. Those two together are key things to help any small business. Tiny, one solopreneur, whatever you have, they give you a shot at getting found. They really do.
With the Google business, my accounting business is on there, and I used to have a physical location, and of course now I don't. I work from home, so I took the address out, but I do have like SEO around that site because I'm known as the vegan CPA. So if people search vegan CPA, I come up, which is cool. So I don't want to lose that. But at the same time, I'm trying not to have that business be like the key part of my business.
But this would be a different business.
Yeah. With having a non-brick and mortar place, can I actually still do the business through Google or?
So that's where I usually recommend people have a PO box.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
But you can also put a service-based area on your Google business profile.
Okay.
So mine is Canada, the US, and the UK.
Oh, okay. So I could do that for that.
I think there's some talk of them changing some of that soon, but as soon as you can get into it and get it up there, it really does help too.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I need to change my messaging on the website, ask people about what they call themselves, kind of figure out how I want to niche down or call my niche, call me, identify my niche. Is that those
and
are
their
the key
problems,
things, right?
So that's the
problems.
key thing for you. Yeah. So I would make sure before you change anything, like don't rush out and change it, but definitely do some of that research first. So you're not redoing it over and over and over, right? Find out how people refer to themselves. That's important first.
Okay.
How you refer to yourself and what you want to think about, that's not an immediate thing. but definitely having like, who is that niche of clients that you serve and what are the problems that they have? Like, how can you put that into words that they really do hit home with them and help them understand that? You could add two things to that survey, actually, if you wanted to. One is, how do you refer to yourself? And two, what is your biggest struggle with your business?
Okay.
And keep it all open-ended to get their words.
Yeah, and I have done some of that research. I used to be in market research, so I love collecting data.
Yeah.
And I tabulated all the information that I received and all of that. And a lot of times they talk about, so some of the data was like, they feel like they need more sales, they need more leads. And really, when it comes down to it, they really want to make more money in their business. I mean, that's like the key thing. So,
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you so much, Kathy.
Well, thank you for doing this and for taking the time to open up a little bit of your business and your life and yourself to some feedback and let me share some of those tips with you too. I really do enjoy doing this. I mean, I think it's important to always get that second opinion, and that's why I offer these marketing audits. So everybody who is listening, you can apply for your own, and I will put a link to that as well. We do 5 types of marketing audits. We do website, messaging, social media profiles, articles, and lead magnets. And so once you apply for the audit, my team will send you a link to book your session. And then usually within a few weeks, we can get you booked, and then your episode will go live as well. So as we end this, I always want to know and make sure, Heather, that you have an opportunity to share some of your contact info with our listeners in case they're looking to get your expertise advice and connect with you as well. So how can folks connect with you online?
Thank you, Kathy. And, I have a tendency to give like a 5 call to action, and I've been told, don't do that. I'm going to, you can find me at I will be improving this website, but you can go to getradbiz.com and you can find me there. And I do have free events. There's an event page, so you can come to some of my free events. I'd love to have you, but getradbiz.com.
Awesome. Excellent. And I know you have a podcast too. So what does your podcast teach people?
It's called Get Radical with Your Business, and it teaches you all the things about getting radical with your business. So I talk about the number side of things, but also other side. I just had one about being a purpose-driven business. And to me, that's such an important part of it. But you have to make money to be able to have the time to volunteer and the money to donate.
Exactly. Okay. Well, awesome. Well, thanks again, Heather. And thanks to everybody for tuning into the Marketing Your Private Practice podcast with Kathy C. My goal is always to help you learn strategies to thrive from A to Z. Be sure to hit follow so you don't miss out on any new episodes, and have a fabulous day and an even better week, everyone. You can find all of our show notes and resources mentioned at marketingyourprivatepractice.com. Be sure to connect with me on Instagram at pepperitmarketing and say hi. I'd love to hear any feedback you have, and make sure to rate and review the podcast and hit subscribe on your favorite player so you don't miss any future episodes.